Hi guys, we're going to do a quick, probably 20-minute video or so. We're just going to focus on deuce to 7, triple draw tonight. Had a moment, I got done playing some other games and I saw that they had this game running, and I think this is a favorite among a lot of mixed game players, so I figured I'd focus like 20 minutes on tonight. So we're playing four-handed right now. Maybe, maybe not, we get an extra player, we shall see. 8-7-6-3-2. All right, best hand in this game is 7-5-4-3-2. Suits count against you if you have a flush, and if you have a straight, it's the same thing. 5-4-3-2 ace though is not a straight. It is the best ace low possible. Here we have a 6-3-2 card against a 3-bet. We're gonna fold. I didn't realize it was 3-bet. Probably would just fold that hand anyways. Honestly, probably want, if I'm gonna draw 3, I want a deuce and another wheel card. Maybe deuce 6 is probably okay. Deuce 8's a little loose, especially playing out of position. Just trying to get someone to break a better hand, and he was bluffing, so it ended up working for me. Here folded to me, I'll open the 3-4 and ditch the 9 most likely. Excuse me as I get a drink. So it looked like big blind 3-bet took 1-3. The draw lead always, usually I would say almost always keeps the lead. Some of the smaller limit games, I think for the most part, you'll see them deviate, meaning if they took more cards out of position, sometimes if they improve their hand drastically, they'll go ahead and bet. In this game, usually from like an early position, you're looking for 3 cards, 7 or under. Usually you want a deuce in your hand. Actually, if you're opening 3 from under the early position, you have to have a deuce in your hand. If you're opening like 3-4-8 or 3-4-7, that's way too loose. You want to have a smooth draw, and you want to build your hand if you can. You want to start your hand like kind of from the bottom up, so meaning like if you have a deuce in your hand, that's good. If you have deuce 7, that's good too. 53 or 51, that's a bonus. Sorry, saying good night to my wife. One draw remaining, 0-1. 0-1, checks. Probably expecting to have like a roughish 8. That's usually still, I would say, enough hand to bet depending on how the action goes, but usually when the pot gets bigger too, you're incentivized to bet pretty thin, and they're incentivized to call you pretty light in case you're bluffing. 3-6 here 3 ways is the same kind of thing. I'm not going to draw too rough out of position. Not really much here. If open 2, I'd just muck this hand. It's too rough. Draw 3 out of position. And you gotta also remember too, like the card removal. Usually if you have, say it's folded to you on the button after 3 folds, and you don't have a deuce in your hand, it's more likely that the opponents behind you in the big blind have a deuce somewhere in their hand, which means their hand is more likely playable. So if you're gonna open light from the button, you still have to be somewhat cautious, just because if you don't have a deuce, the removal means more likely if someone didn't open and you don't have it, like the blinds are behind you probably have something. That's not like a hard rule by any means, but it's just kind of a general concept. Like here, folded to, I'll open deuce 5. But once it raised, I'm just going to fold. And he folds. 3, 5, 6, and the cutoff is a little bit loose. If I had some blockers with it, I would probably open. And we got some action here. Button raised, 3-bet, 4-bet. Call or 4? Okay, so we got 2, 1, 2. And I wouldn't say there's really any sort of set in stone way in which if it goes, Capo here takes 2 and it goes 1, 1 by Aardvark, and we'll say luck. There's not really like any, I would say, code of conduct with respect to like who bets and who doesn't. I mean, sometimes you can go for a check raise. Sometimes you just lead if you improve your hand. Makes number 4 here, which is a very nice hand. Any 7 in this game is a really strong hand. Most 8s are a strong hand. There's a, let's see, number 5 up to number, I think, 19. So there's 14 or so different. 3, 4 here. I'm just going to muck. There's a little bit of a, I would say, definitely a wider range of 8s. 3, 4, 7 here against a button open 9, 10. Single draw, you just pat this hand, but induce the 7, we're going to fold and make somewhat of a tightish fold, I would say. Usually you 3-bet your 2-card draws against a button open because most button opens are kind of like whitish 2-card draws or 3-card draws. So if you're going to play against the button, usually you're 3-betting. That way you price the big blind out with most of their hands to get the pot heads up. So 1 draw remaining. I've actually never talked about this before, but if you've never seen these, the pre-draw and the first draw are small bet streets, and then the last 2 draws are big bet streets. I've never even thought of that. It's just kind of been in my head, I guess, forever. Nothing really here to play. So we're fold. If you guys are looking to play any on Phenom, down below I'll put a link in the description. So click that link, sign up, and it will keep me motivated to keep making these videos. Also, I have links down below. My email's in there if anyone's looking for private lessons, coaching, the mixed games. Any questions or comments, feel free to post them below too. I'll get back to you whenever I can. More than happy to. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoy talking and listening to my ear. I just like hearing my voice. I'm just that guy. So 2, 3, 3. The button doesn't necessarily have to just bet it 2 here. I actually kind of like the check if you just miss, because a lot of times these guys are going to improve or be going for a check raise against you. So, and it just kind of checks through. I have no problem with it really, any of this. It's kind of funny, like no one's improved. The 9 here should easily bet. That is a very, very good hand in a 2, 3, 2 spot. But some people just really don't know, I would say, like what that kind of looks like. 4, 6 here. We really haven't really played a hand, but sometimes that's the patience. Oh, excuse me. Looks like it went 3-bet. Goes 1, 2, pretty standard. Takes 1, 1, pretty standard so far, I would say. Now in a 1, 1 spot with 1 draw remaining. There can be some plays you definitely should have an occasional check raise in there just to kind of balance out when you check. Doesn't mean you have nothing. Looks like it went 0. I can't tell if he was trying to check raise the 86. That's probably a fine hand to consider check raising. Usually I go with something a little bit better because when I usually go for the check raise, I want to call the 3-bet. Now if the button opens here, I have a 4-card 8 on the. That's a good enough hand, especially since I don't have the straight draw to go ahead and try to isolate. This is a strong draw, short-handed. Also 1-3, as you can see, I have the draw lead. I'm just going to keep the betting lead as well. I'm just going to go ahead and bet in the 1-1 spot. Like sometimes you can go ahead and go for the check raise. I don't really want to go for check raise and call 3-bet with this hand though, so I'm just gonna call. Sometimes you can consider 3-betting. Like I would definitely consider 3-betting some hands. This is the one where I'm just gonna pat out of position and then just check call river. This is definitely a strong enough hand to get to the river and just call. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but 87 is totally fine. He makes number 2. We lose that one, but we played that hand just fine. 3-4 here on the button, not going to open. If I'm going to take a 3-card draw, I almost always want a deuce in my hand. Let's see, 2-3-2. Yeah, if given the opportunity, my guess is that he should be doing a fair bit of betting because of the fact that it went 2-3-2. If he gets the middle player to fold here a fair bit, it's a pretty big win for both these guys. Looks like it went 1. I don't know if it went 1-1, but betting a 9 in that situation, especially 9-5, is really good. Must have went 1-1 because showed up with like 10-8 or something. We get 3-bet. We're going to call with the deuce 3, 6-2-3. We'll make a 7. We can do some betting. We can do some checking. I think this is fine. Better 7 draw. See, it went 1-1. If I make like number 3 here, if I had a 5 in my hand, I'd probably consider going for a check raise to just kind of balance out my 1-1 checks. He bets. He pats. We're going to check the jack, and he checks the 9 back. This is probably okay, I would say, against the field in most low limit games. As you move up, you definitely want to be betting thinner and thinner as you possibly can. So let's say like in some higher limit games, like a 9, there would probably be a bet. We're just going to fold. We have a 1-card draw to a deuce. Even though it's a wheel draw, it's not worth drawing. So it looks like it goes raise, call, 2-3. Check, check, 2-2. So far, relatively standard. And a 2-2 spot here too. I don't necessarily like bet all my improvements too. Sometimes I do some checking and calling with a 1-card draw. And it looks like it goes bet, call, or bet, raise, call, and pat. I would say for a fair bit, like you want to be a little bit liberal with considering 3-betting against a button raise, especially if they're gonna have a draw. But it looked like Capico was either snowing or had a really rough hand himself. Not quite sure. 5-6-10 here, no good. 5-6, no good. 5 by itself, no good. 4-card king, no good. 3-3. So I don't think I would take 3 in the cutoff. A lot of the hands that you could consider, like if you would consider taking 3, like I would say like deuce, 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 3, something. A lot of times you could probably raise and draw to that hand, but at the same time too, like some of those hands are just better as snows. It's just very unlikely your opponent's going to make a smooth hand. Not quite sure what happened there, but it says 3 draws remaining and he folded for 1 bet, so not quite sure. 7-6-5-2 here with blocking an extra deuce. This is a really strong hand here on the button. We'll keep the Badoogie. We do get 3-bet by the big blind. We're gonna 4-bet this hand. It's strong enough. He has some 2-card draws, I would say, and like a lot of 1-card draws, but in position here we're just gonna do it, especially with the extra deuce. We can smooth call here with 1-card draws too, but when we block the extra deuce, we definitely want to bet. And now, since he checks back, we're going to check back. If I made another pair here, I might consider betting again. That way he doesn't get to like pat out of position here every time with like a 10 or a jack or a 9, depending on what he decides to do. But that's okay. Unfortunately, we're probably just going to lose this hand. Yeah, 9-6. Like, I think that hand is fine. I don't think he's going for the check raise there on the second draw. But I would probably just go ahead and bet his hand in a 1-1 spot. Taking 3, taking 2. We are also taking 2. Make a 6. So we do have a straight draw, but we're still going to draw at it. It doesn't really change anything. It's not like all straight draws are bad. Like obviously the 2, 3, 4, 6, the 2, 3, 4, 5 here are still strong draws. You can make number 2, you can make number 6 with this hand. So we make number 6, we catch our second best card. Go ahead and bet. This is a very strong hand in a 2-2-1 spot when we make in position. Now we get to play in position, and a lot of times we're going to have this hand probably drawing dead. Bet. And we would call a raise for sure. Yeah, he looks like he had the same draw as we did. So we had him drawing very thin. Need to see if you bluff. Football game. What's the football game they're talking about? 0-3. 1 draw remaining. Probably he should not be calling and drawing 2 in this position if, yeah, he's almost got to have a 1 card draw. And yeah, so he decided to pat the very rough 10. Like that's actually pretty standard when you have a draw that rough. When you catch yourself, I would say, with a draw that rough. Like this would be a good example. Like I'm raising the 5, 6, 7 here in the small blind. If somehow I make a 10, a 10-7, I'd probably check raise pat. This is a good example of a hand like I'm just going to go for a check raise here, like in a 2-2 spot. Like I'm going to pat, so I'm going to decide I'm going to go for the check raise. He folds, which meant his hand was probably really rough. But again, like when you have these balance spots where you're like you have the equal number of draw cards, like 1-1 or 2-2 or something like that, you definitely want to have some. Balances in there of really strong hands and bricks. So we start 2, 4, 5. We pair a 5 and we catch a 7. Pretty strong draw in position here. I've seen a lot of people raise in the past. Honestly, at these stakes, it's probably totally fine to raise. But I'm just going to go ahead and call. Now we catch another 5. And if check 2, we're 100% going to bet here in position. I am going to raise against Capico. And the reason being is I might get this player to raise. And he might actually just improve to a draw. And he actually might fold. This is really interesting. I did not expect him to check raise in this situation. So it's either like an extremely strong hand or he's just trying to get me to break. Not like it really matters in this spot. Like I'm just gonna, yeah, like when he snap checks it too, like I expect him to have a 9 or like some sort of like random 10 here. Yeah, like he had 9-8. But it's a very polar hand when he decides to like check raise because he wants to he's trying to like get it heads up. And I was just trying to isolate because again, when Capico bets in a 1-2-1 spot, like he's representing, I would say, like kind of a weakish hand, and like the fact that I just paired my I'm gonna check here with the 9. If there was 1 draw left, I would keep the 9, but since there's 2, I'm gonna break and draw. Make jack 7. I'm going to call Capico and see what he does here. He takes 1, and I'm just going to pat behind him with the jack 8. I'm a favorite. And in that situation, too, like, it's kind of close here. Kind of close here because I've seen him bluff a lot, but I'm just going to go ahead and fold the jack 7 because I have a lot of 10s. I have a lot of 9s. that I would just call the river with. Like a jack is probably my worst hand. If I had a smoother 8 there, I'd go ahead and call. And the reason being is, again, like having a jack in that situation and having like a smooth 8 is basically like kind of like the same equity. Here we have a 3-card 8. We're going to go ahead and call and draw 2 against 2 players. It's probably going to go 2-2-2. It does, so I think we cut another pair. So if it goes bet raise, we're going to just fold. If it goes bet call, we're going to call again. Improve to the 8 perfect draw. So again, hopefully it goes, hopefully we get to see a river card here. We're definitely going to call for 1 bet and draw. That is interesting. I don't know what this is. In a 2-1-1 spot, he decides to check and pat his hand. I'm going to do something crazy here and try to bluff my deuces, because it means his hand should be really rough the way that he played this hand. Unless he's like trying to trap a wheel, which I don't expect. But I also know Capico has like been paying me off a lot, trying to see if I bluff, so maybe I can get him to fold, and we get the fold, and we get the bluff through, which is lovely. So that actually worked out nicely. 8, 9, 10, 10 jack double suited. This looks like a very pretty PLO 5 hand. Let's see if we can get about 10 more minutes in. Deuce 4 on the button. If folded 2, I'll open. It looks like I haven't had too many of those chances yet with the 2 cards, with the 3-card draw. So Aardvark opens and Capico calls. In a 3-2 spot, Aardvark bets. Capico check raises. Discards 1. I'm not a huge fan of that play. I think you should just be check calling and drawing 1, because when you do that, a lot of times you're representing that you have a really strong draw, and you want to balance it out between having like really strong draws and having some rough draws as well, so you don't like turn your hand face up. I'm actually quite surprised to see that one though. So his plan might have been to bluff it at a later street, because it looks like he had 3, 5, 6, 7. Could just be reading into it a little too much too. But yeah, I would not want to check raise the 3, 5, 6, 7 unless I was trying to snow or bluff on a later street, most likely. He does have a wheel draw there. He does have a 7 draw there, but he's got to catch exactly a deuce. And we're going to fold here the 1-card draw. Sorry, the 4-card draw. The 1-card wheel. Seven, 5, 4. Turn my head for a second, so I missed it. 4, 4, 6, 6. If folded to me, I think I would open this just because I have a couple extra blockers, but not against an open. 2, 4. Again, if given the chance, we'll open it. We do not get that chance again. I see a theme. One draw remaining. Capico bets and Aardvark discards. Interesting. I feel like Capico hasn't gone for too many thin bets here, so he's pretty polar in my mind. Yeah, he's got a 7 versus number 5. I actually think both players played their hand well there, or played the last draw fine. I would definitely raise with the 10, 8, 7, 6, 5. Like if you're playing in a 3-handed game, you could consider just raising, patting this hand. 4-handed game's a little bit too loose, and there's no real draw here since you're open-ended. Like, I would just go ahead and muck that hand. But even that, like that 10 in a 3-handed game would just be like, hold on and pray for dear life. And there's not a ton of playability, so probably just even fold it and it'd be fine. Calling, drawing 3 at the deuce 7. And again, Capico like called here, and it's just weird because usually it's like a really, really strong draw or it's like a straight draw. So we're going to peel once with the 2-8-7, and if he pats... Now it's just really interesting. Now I just think he's snowing. I'm going to call. If he traps me, he traps me. But it just seems like a hand that it's like a wheel or nothing. A wheel or like some sort of bluff, but if you got me, you got me. It's a nice hand. I mean, by the fact that he didn't 3-bet preflop, my guess is, I mean, like, it seems like he had the he could have the 4-5-6-8, or he had the 4-3-4-5-6. So 3-7 here in the small blind, blocking 2 9s. I'm going to go ahead and raise, and just to note that I do have 2 9s on a later street. This is kind of an interesting one. I'm actually going to go for the bet, and I'm going to like just. Now I'm going to call. I was going to just pat the jack here and try to get him to fold, but now this is interesting. Now we're going to try and snow. So we've seen a couple pairs. We've seen some 9s. We've seen some other stuff. Now, since we've like blocking some pairs and the fact that we have 2 pair in our hand, we're going to go for the bluff. And it doesn't work. Looks like he makes a 9. But yeah. My plan, because my hand was just so rough and like I didn't like my draw at all, was to pat the jack out of position. And once I got raised, I think it was the 3-3 spot, I decided to break and draw at the 87. And then I made 2 pair. So now I'm blocking some of the cards that he needs to complete his hand. So I decided to turn that one into a bluff. And again, like when you check raise draw 2, you need to value. You really need to value thin value bet the river, because it looks like a very bluffy line, because it's hard to go from drawing 2 to a pat hand. And I would say like pat like make an 8 or better for the most part. I mean, like you can pat like a lot of different hands, but I would say like a made hand is an 8 or better in that situation. And to go from a draw 2 to a 8 or better is I think it's like higher than 90%. So it's just tough to do. See if we'll get one more round in. We'll get maybe one more hand in. So Capico raises, draws 3. Aardvark draws 2. Aardvark should be doing a lot of 3-bets with his draw 2s, especially if someone's opening drawing 3. It just means they have a very wide opening range, which is fine, but need to punish the draw 3ers. 2-2 spot. Again, I don't bet every single one of my 2-2. He stands pat. He bets. Gets raised again. He gets 3-bet again. Now he gets 4-bet. Interesting. All right. 6-6-6. Gonna fold. Oh, excuse me. Three, 7 here. Probably open it again if given the chance, but we don't. I feel like I haven't opened too many hands on the button. Goes raise call 2-3. 1-2. Luck should probably bet his whole range here. Capco calls, pat 1. So far, pretty standard. Check, Jack 8-5-3. Yeah, see, now the difference here is like the Jack 8-5-3 is a fine draw, and he should be breaking that and drawing out of position, because if his opponent like decides to freeze behind him, meaning like he decides to call and not raise, he has him drawing dead, and not where you want to be. So Right here, 4-8. Definitely going to defend the 4-8 here. 4-6-8. We could in theory 3-bet and draw one, but I think it's a little rough. The 9-8-6, where he takes one. We're going to check call once. This is an interesting one actually. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to check call, and I'm going to freeze out of position here, and then check, and then I'm actually going to call the river, I think, because last time I folded. Yeah, and he makes 8. So I don't need to check raise that out of position there and just build a pot. And I have an easy fold if he just pats behind me too. So 2, 4, 4, 10, 10. Draw 3. Improve to the 1 card 8 draw. There's 2, we make the 8, and we're just going to pretty much stand with this hand no matter what now. Alright, I think we're going to finish it out here in about 2 hands. I feel like Aardvark's raising every blind. I still have not been able to open the 3 card draw there. Alright, well, anyways, we'll get one more I think in. So if you guys like this video, please subscribe. And there's a link down below if you guys would like to open a Phenom account. Again, it helps me out and motivates me to keep making these for you guys. Yeah, please leave comments or questions or anything else that I can... we might get an extra hand in. Comments or anything else that I can answer for you guys below, and yeah, we'll go from there. I'm gonna just take my time to make sure this person gets their chips so I can get one more hand in, because they do have to buy in from their wallet on the blockchain. That's one of the features of Phenom. I'll just fold it. If I don't get it, I don't get it. Your money is held in your own crypto wallet, and they don't have control of it. You have control over your own funds. It's not like any of the other sites where you send money and it's all kept in one location. You send money to yourself on a different wallet, and then you buy in directly from your wallet. So, cool little feature I think to have. But this way your funds are always your funds. Zero. Seems pretty standard. Bet the 85 for value, and Chuck called when he made the 9. And then we are going to not play this last one. Alright, so anyways, thank you guys for watching, and until then, play well, good luck at the tables, bye bye.